Hello, folks.
Hi there.
It's another episode of Würfelcast, episode 57. We are doing
Very
our
well.
usual format, so no worries here. And the topic of the day is top 10 games with terrible theme.
Hooray! I love a terrible theme.
Yes, I'm terrible at themes as well. Anyway, uh, so without further ado, we'll get to our topic of the day. We'll explain how we did our lists, but first we'll start with the recent plays. And
Hooray.
so, Kyle, why don't you start while I'll do the honor of sharing the screen.
Okay. So the game I'm going to talk about is the game I've played the most. I've been playing a lot of new games lately, stuff that came in, but the one that's sort of been the most popular has been Ark Nova. Now, this game was heavily hyped toward the end of the year. It went on sale at Capstone, and I believe sold out there. So it's there's some illusion of scarcity going on too.
It's out of print.
Uh, well, I don't know if it's out of print. I'm sure it's coming back in. I think it's just out of pre-order. Um, anyway, I got one. Apparently, I ordered more than one, which sometimes happens when I get excited about something from Europe, and then I forget that I ordered it and place another order. So, but regardless, I have one that has arrived, and I spent a lot of time playing it. I played it solo, and then with two. I've not played it with other counts yet. Um, so this is a game about building up a zoo. And what you're going to do is you've got 5 action cards. And they're the same 5 action cards for everybody for the whole game. You can upgrade them through some sorts of game mechanisms. You can upgrade 4 out of 5. And when you upgrade them, of course, they're a little bit better. They give you a few more options. But basically, you're going to choose one of these actions. You see there in that last picture, they were kind of all down there at the bottom. Well, not here, but that doesn't matter. And then you're going to choose an action card. You're going to pull it out, do what it says, and then shift it all the way to the left, because the actions get stronger the longer they wait in this action row. And so, if it's at a 4, you're going to do the action at a strength 4 or lower. Whereas if you wait until it gets to a 5, you can improve it. You can be a little bit better. There are some tokens you can use to increase the action as well. And then ultimately what you're doing is you've got a bunch of cards, and you're going to try and play them, and they're going to give you different bonuses. There's a bunch of ways to score points. For example, there's these conservation projects that you can work on that are sort of general goals that'll get you points. But ultimately what you're trying to do is it's kind of like Rajas of the Ganges. You have a sort of, I don't know, I think it's called the appeal counter and the conservation counter or something, but you're trying to get them to cross. And when they cross, that's going to end the game. One of them is going to be your income. So sort of think of like the Terraforming Mars style. When you improve the various projects, it's going to give you more and more income each round. And then the other one, the conservation tracker, is going to give you some bonuses early on, which can be very important. And then you're trying to fill up your zoo. You're trying to specialize in different kinds of animals. You got to kind of figure out which various strategy you want to go for. And you might have to change it as the game goes by. There are various rounds. Every so often, there's something called a break where everybody will score their income and lose a lot of cards from their hand. So you're going to want to make sure you don't, have that surprise you. But that's really it. I mean, it's not a particularly hard game, right? There's not that many rules, but there's a lot to explore. There's lots of cards. It's very difficult to shuffle all of them. But it's really quite an enjoyable game, and it's one that I keep thinking about and keep wanting to go back to. I think the best comparison is it feels a lot like Underwater Cities, and mix that with Wingspan. Honestly, is how I feel about it. There's just like in Wingspan, there's only about 5. There's 5 actions, not a whole lot of millions of things you can do. But the way you're manipulating those 5 actions is really going to be what the key to your victory. And then most of the cards don't give you any kind of income. They're mostly sort of one-time bonuses, kind of like, and then there's sort of this building your own personal board, kind of like Underwater Cities. It's kind of that. I mean, it's, maybe there's a little Terraforming Mars in there with the income track, some Rajas of the game just with the way that you ultimately score. There are 8 different zoo boards you can play with, or actually, I think there's 10. There's 2 that are the same, that are uniform for everybody, and then there's 8 that are different slightly. But I've really enjoyed it. I look forward to playing it a lot more. This one was very, very heavily hyped, and I think it lives up to it, which is kind of a rare thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's something I'm definitely interested to try to play. I'm sure I'm gonna like it. I do like the theme. It's something different from your usual themes that we get nowadays, and it's something
It's not a terrible
environmental.
theme.
I mean, like it's environmental. It's on spot. I mean, like it's something that people would look forward to nowadays. I would say
Yeah,
this kind of an
well, I would say it's a
environmental approach.
harmless theme.
Mm,
It's a theme that most people can enjoy. Most people can understand what's going on. It's not some strange concept. It's not, I don't know, mixing potions or anything like that. It's a real world thing, right? Most people enjoy
yeah.
animals and going to zoos. Some people don't, but those, you can also release the animals if you're that kind of person. There's a lot to love in this game.
Yeah. One thing that I thought about, like, oh, yet another game with the pictures instead of the drawings, and I can see like this game having, as you said, a ton of cards, and I can see how it might be quite difficult to get this game printed with all the unique artwork and
Yeah.
but one thing that I feel like if you look at Terraforming, and people compare it to Terraforming Mars, but if you look at Terraforming Mars, the picture wise, because the Terraforming Mars also has the pictures, like the print screen or whatever how it's called, the photo type of thing, and Terraforming Mars is inconsistent in its photos. They are all over the place. They're very different styles. But if I look at this picture here, it feels kind of not the same. I mean, like it feels more as a complete package of different photos than in Terraforming Mars, which is great because I do not like photos instead of artwork in games usually. But this doesn't bother me because it's so consistent. Like everything
Yeah.
looks like it's yeah, it's from the same
Well,
photographer, whatever.
yeah, well,
It
who
might be.
knows, right? But this one, I mean, for the pictures of the animals, I think I don't know what you would expect on a card about an African elephant, other than a picture of the elephant. The pictures of the people are kind of hokey. I don't really like those ones. There's sometimes people with really shocked faces or strange poses, but that's okay, right? I mean, you don't sit there and spend the whole game looking at the card. I mean, the animals look fine. The people are, but hey, it doesn't get in the way. Maybe someday there'll be a nice, original artwork version. But for now, this is definitely working. No problem with the components. All of the, cardboard tokens are decent quality. The cards themselves are quite nice, actually. They feel
Hmm.
very thick and sturdy. Um, Again, my only complaint with the cards is that there are so many that it's very difficult to shuffle them all, kind of like Wingspan is now, if you add in the expansions. That's a good problem to have. And in a 1 or 2 player game, you'll probably see 20% of the cards throughout the game. So it's definitely lots of stuff
Yeah.
you can explore and re-explore in other games.
Yeah, I have the same. Like, I don't have Terraforming Mars because I thought it's a bit too much for me. It's not my game. I have the Ares Expedition, and
You
this one
do?
also. Ares Expedition has a ton of cards as well, which you need to shuffle, and you need to shuffle them a lot in order for it to be a great distribution. So it's 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 pain in the in that place with
Well,
tons
yeah,
of cards.
to be honest, the only way to shuffle the cards when they're this many is to do kind of a table wash, or to buy a shuffling machine, which I did end up doing at one point for
Hmm.
exactly this kind of game. Just
Hmm.
because there's so much, even if you do that, you still have to run it through several times,
Okay.
just to swallow your pride and do one of those table washes where you just dump all the cards and, and mix them up. That's honestly the way to shuffle this kind of game.
Okay. All right. So my pick for the recent play is something I'm going to review as well. But now I've played it a few times and I kind of you know uh, get the game now, so I can talk about it. And that's Origins First Builders. It's from Board and Dice, and it's it's not a civilization build. It's a Euro game. It's a Euro game. We've pasted down theme. I mean, theme is kind of maybe there. Okay, if you think about it enough, you can kind of, you know, oh yeah, I can see a little bit of theme there, but whatever,
You really
you
have to
play.
try.
Yes, you play it for the mechanics. Because in this game you are building up a district with those buildings, and the buildings and districts, and you have the workers, which are dice, who will increase in value. That's becoming more valuable, more more experienced, let's say, and they
Hmm.
become eventually, when the dice become too experienced, they become a 6, let's say. After they become a 6, they cannot go higher, so they become advisors instead, and then they advise the I call it the Granda worker, the Archon. It's called the Archon, I think. These are the miniatures, small miniatures. These are the like Granda workers, basically, which give you a little bit more vibe. But the game itself is all about you have those dice, and you're placing them on those different action spots. And if you match the color, then you can also do a bonus action. And you always
Yeah.
choose one of the two actions. If you put a 6, you get both actions plus the bonus action if you match the color. There are some, white dice are basically like citizen. I don't remember exactly, like citizen, whatever they are. Uh,
Yeah.
I-
They have a name.
yeah, it's they are free to use dice that you don't need to have a place to put it, like the what's they called, the thing to put it in, because you can see all the dice are in those things with different colors. These are your player colors, but also these are your spots to put your dice in. If you don't have enough spots and you want to buy more dice, you cannot do that. You have to buy more of these, whatever they are, the pallets. How do you call them? That you
Yeah,
put
I
the
don't know
dice
their
in.
name, but there's these little brackets that they sit in.
Yeah, brackets, basically. You have to buy, eventually you have to build yourself up and buy more brackets. You can see here some brackets are locked, so you need to unlock more. And eventually you are putting dice as advisors, and advisors become kind of the color support for your archon, the main Granda worker. Because your Granda worker, he's like they are like the usual worker, but they do not have any kind of the bonus actions, and you will put the advisors down, eventually coloring that worker, and they can be multicolors, as well.
Hmm.
And it's cool. These are the dials basically here, and you cannot see anything on those dials. I painted. There are pips on those dials, 1 to 6, basically, like
Yeah, they have
pipes.
6 die faces
Yeah, and
around the wheel.
yeah, I just painted them black with the marker, the pips
Hmm.
themselves, so you can see them clearly what pips they are.
You can't see them at all.
Yeah, and what you do is basically, when you go somewhere, you increase the value of that. These are called motherships. Basically, you increase the value of the dial, the mothership, but you have to first match, or at least like have at least that much power on your dice. For example, if the mothership shows a 4, you need to have at least a 4 on a die that you put there in order to do that action. Otherwise, you have to pay some of the resources, like parchment, whatever they were, in order to increase your value temporarily. And there are those zodiac tracks where you can get the permanent abilities, but if somebody goes up on the zodiac track past you, they can grab that card back, and that those abilities go back and forth between players. If people invest into zodiac tracks and they give you points in the game. There's the military track, which is basically like go around, get some extra resources, get some extra points. You can get those tokens with rings on them, which are, I don't know what they are, like just tokens with rings on them. There's
They're a
no,
free action,
yeah,
right?
just I don't know why it's this artwork, why it's not a
Oh,
square, why it's a ring. Who cares?
it is just a
Anyway, it
circle.
gives you some extra actions, and you build buildings. The cool part about that is with those buildings, if you are building the buildings in a sense that you have some kind of a goals to reach, and these are like patterns. I I will not try to find the cards of patterns. Who cares? Anyway, there will be the cards which give you the patterns of buildings. So if like four buildings are in that way, then you can score some points. That kind of a
Hmm.
thing. And the other thing is that when you close a district, basically put four buildings in a square, you can put the die in them as a separate action, and it will score you points at the game, and you can increase the value of your towers. Again, no fee, but you increase the value of your towers of the same color as your dice, you can score more points. Basically, you're multiplying your points. The cool part about that, which I like, is when you put down a die, all four buildings around that die activate, but only those which are the same color as the die itself. So you're
Right.
trying to get more of the same colors, like close to each other, and then activate them. And
Hmm.
that's a cool idea. I like that a lot. Uh, Overally, it's a Euro game. You're trying to maximize
No.
your things. Yeah, you're buying more stuff. You're buying more dice. You're constantly giving away dice, so you have less workers. Then you have to buy more new workers. And sometimes you think about like workers also have different values on that board. They can be higher, they can be lower, and you're like, okay, should I buy a 4? It will go into advisor track quite soon because can use it only a few times, or I can buy a 1, which is not a strong worker, but it will last me a ton of time. Uh,
Yep.
Something like that. Overall, I like this game. And one thing that I heard about this game, it's like it doesn't bring anything new to the table, and that's one argument I want to bring out because lately I've been thinking about the reviews I'm gonna do later into January, February, or March, etc. I'm gonna put out reviews. I will probably skip this kind of a feel like does it bring something innovative to the table, because for if I say, as I played like let's say 500 different Euros that have the same kind of a vibe, and I can say yes, for me it doesn't bring anything new to the table, but for the person who watches my review, they will look at that and say, oh, it doesn't bring anything new, I will not buy it. But they have played maybe
Hmm.
2 Euros. Yeah, they just started recently, maybe half a year ago, with the gaming.
Hmm.
They haven't played that many Euros. For them, that might be an innovative game. That might be innovative experience of those dials and workers increasing in value, etc. That might be the thing for them. So that's where I would reserve kind of a opinion of, is it innovative or not. As a game, it's a solid game. It
Yeah.
works for some, it doesn't work for the others. It might bring something new to the table for different folks, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I like this game. It's the one problem I have with it. Well, two things. One, the first, it's a difficult game to explain. There's a lot of things that just go together and work
Hmm.
together, which I really enjoy. But teaching it to somebody new is definitely more difficult. The theme certainly does not help you to
Hmm.
explain anything. It's more just, okay, here are some gears. This is how they work together. Go forth and do it. The other thing is, I kind of feel like there's one or two things that probably maybe could have been left out, like that circle track, that
Military
Coliseum or
track,
whatever.
yeah, that's
That it didn't ever feel worth it, right? I mean, you could go forward and you'd get a couple extra actions, and occasionally you could get a bonus, but you could get that bonus somewhere else also. It just that part felt a little
mm,
bit extra, but that was just for me.
it might feel worth it if there are the right dice. I mean, like it depends on the situation. And when I
Yeah.
played it, it felt worth for me in a sense of I went really, forward down that track. I
Okay.
was quite high on that track, and the other people didn't invest in it at all. And I had like red dice, a ton of red dice, and those red dice
Hmm.
and the bonus actions, they go in different spots randomly, but it kind of after the setup we had the red bonus action, which is like moving the military track,
Okay.
was next to that spot, or the original spot of military track, so I
Hmm.
could move more. You know,
Yeah.
it depends. It's very dependable, which yes, is not so cool in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I
Look, I
feel
enjoy
like
it. I mean, the
yeah,
game, but
one more thing I feel like is that I would have loved to have more cards, more of those zodiac cards during the game. You know,
Hmm.
because they go back and forth. If you invest into, if everybody invests into those tracks, whoever is up front by the end of the round, they get that card. And I felt like maybe it could be like there are two cards in each column, and you always choose one, and you can either grab the one that is in front of the player already, or the one that it's still not grabbed. It's like I would have loved more choice in those special
Hmm.
abilities, because they're cool. They give
Yeah,
you some
they're fine. I
spice.
mean, they're enjoyable. But
Or
anyway.
just have a deck of cards and draw a card, something like that. Anyway, Origins First Builders, an enjoyable game. Uh, and if it's not innovative for someone, it doesn't mean that it's not innovative for the other people. It might be. Depends on the
All
situation.
right. There you go.
Let's get to the next topic, which is Cult of the Old. We'll talk about the games that are at least 5 years old.
That's
So,
right. We
Kyle.
do. Okay, so the game I'm going to talk about is an old game, and I was kind of thinking about it recently. The game is Libertalia.
Hmm.
Now, Libertalia, thematically, it doesn't make any sense. Uh, but everyone has a set of cards, and all of the cards are the same at the start of the game. And you're going to play a card each turn, but what you sort of and then do its action, and everyone who plays the same card will do that action. There's sort of a way that all works together. But then you're going to add new cards to your hand at the end of the round, and so your hand of cards is going to become different as the game goes by, right? So everyone has this monkey, and you're going to use that monkey at some point. But whether if I use it now and you use it in 3 turns, that could have different impacts. So that's kind of what the game is doing. The theme, like I said, it doesn't make any sense at all why the same pirate would be in everybody's crew, but you just kind of pretend that doesn't matter. The game is really simple, though. You're mostly just trying to get these treasures. These treasures are apparently you're saving for retirement the way pirates do by burying treasures
Yeah.
in the sand. It's not the best looking game. I never really thought that was
No, it's
very
not.
amazing. The artwork was just kind of okay, but it really is an enjoyable game to play, and it's one that it's kind of been forgotten by time. But it's one that I really enjoy and would love to get back out again sometime soon.
Yeah. I I don't know what to say about this game. I played a long time ago, and I just didn't like it at all. I mean, like, it's
Well,
it felt random, and I'm not against random. You know that I like some random stuff in my games, but it felt random in a sense of just I chose something, something happened, I don't care, in that kind of a sense. Random.
okay.
Plus, it doesn't look good. The pirate theme, nah. I mean, like, if it's full on pirate theme, and I do like that. I played some video games about piracy. I know it's which were like RPGs, style, like a ton of stuff. You board the ship, you go into the towns, you do everything, you hunt for treasure. Here, uh, yeah, no theme here. Uh, I like merchants and marauders in that sense as a pirate type, theme.
Sure, that's a game that's about pirates. This is a game with pirates in it. Um,
With pirate pictures and terrible pirate pictures. I don't like this
yeah.
artwork.
I mean, they're not. It's not the best looking game. I would not mind a reprint that maybe changed a few things, but I do enjoy the game quite a lot. It's for
Yeah.
me held up quite well.
All right. So my pick for the Cult of the Old is now eligible for that list. I waited a whole
Okay.
year. Now it's 5 years. Now I was
Okay.
just waiting for it. No, it's a game I talked about a lot, but I
Oh
feel like
no.
it's no, I feel like this game has been under the radar, but for this is a game that could have been a Spiel des Jahres kind of a game, and that's
Okay.
the Last Expedition or
Okay.
Kinder Spiel des Jahres. I don't know what now. The Spiel des Jahres nowadays is something like I don't know. The Mine
It's a party
is a
game.
difficult game,
Yeah.
yeah. It's but
Okay.
let's say something like that because this game it's very easy. I feel like it is family friendly. It's easy to get. It's cooperative as well. It's language independent, so you can play it in many languages and print in many languages. But what I like about this game is yeah, it's just simple. It's just a puzzle. You have cards in your hand, and everybody, you cannot really talk about what cards you have in your hand. You have to play them in whatever order during the day, and there's the night phase. During that night phase, you play them in a different order. You have a common pool of characters with the health tokens on them, and at least one of those characters needs to reach. Like you have this kind of a meeple on the track, and they kind of the meeple needs to go all the way from the card 1 to card 9 or less. It depends on if you get the easy, hard, or medium mode, whatever, and you need to get at least one of your people survive, and that's it. You just look at the icons. You need to kind of get used to the icons the first play, maybe just a bit,
Mm-hmm.
and then you're just going. And there's the expansion, the Fountain of Youth, which adds some modules, which adds some
A
abilities
werewolf.
on those. A werewolf, and those are like extremely simple abilities. Some Fountain of Youth, some extra cards, conquistadors, uh, and a little bit of more thematic ties, and some new companions, etc. And it adds the abilities on those trekking cards on the jungle cards, where you go. If you land on that card, you reveal that card, it gives you something or might take away something. It's like a small event type of thing. I just and few extra, maybe really simple actions, mechanisms, sorry. Yeah. The artwork at first I didn't really like. I mean, like it felt weird. Not that I didn't like, but it felt weird. The more I played it, the more I liked the artwork. I don't
Okay.
know why. It just feels so different and cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it is thematic. You're trying to survive the jungle, and
Sure.
it kind of feels like that. And it's a small package. I can take it anywhere.
Very small. In fact, it's
Yeah,
maybe too small.
it
Uh,
takes yeah with expansion it is, but it takes a bit more space on the table, and but the cards are cool. The cards are big. The cards are the
mhm.
Dixit size cards, which is great. So yeah, the Last Expedition, a great small cooperative puzzle game. The puzzle where
Yeah.
I am not bored at. Usually I get bored with puzzle games.
Very
Anyway,
well.
uh, yeah. Let's
Yeah,
get.
you talk about it a lot, so I don't need to even add to it. But I'm glad you continue to like this one.
Yeah, I mean, like I would definitely get a bigger box with another expansion, maybe to add something more difficult for the advanced
Hmm.
players. To make it more advanced game. That
Okay.
that would be great. I'm not sure they will do that, but yeah,
Well,
maybe one day they'll listen to this podcast and like, okay, let's do that.
that's the
Let's
game.
add let's add Cthulhu. Oh my,
Hey.
Jungle Cthulhu. Okay.
All right.
Let's get to the funky components. Funky. Uh,
Okay.
yeah. So in this segment, we talk about the components in games which are weird, funky, maybe a little bit terrible as well, in a sense. Uh, yeah, just
Okay.
just different from the
Sure.
usual.
Okay. I'm ready.
So, what's your pick for the funky component?
So this is a new game. Just arrived, and the game is Merchants of the Dark Road.
Oh, I know.
Now, in this game, there are lots of very interesting components. And in the version I got, which of course was from Kickstarter because I can't control myself, there are really interesting resources. So there's
Oh no.
those wooden meeples; those are okay. But I'm talking about the resources
Uh,
themselves. Like there are these little glass lanterns. Oh,
this
there's
one's
those. No, those are the crystals, but those are quite nice. I'm wondering if you can find the
uh,
lanterns. Those stand out the most. The
oh, okay,
lanterns
I
in the
got it.
yeah, there you
Okay.
go. See those little lanterns? I mean, I don't know. I'm sure you can buy them
Yeah.
at a toy store, but they're really fun. They look really nice. They're really fun to handle. There's also these little metal horseshoes, which just basically give you an extra movement, but they're really quite nice, very high
Hmm.
quality. They look great. They're delightful to handle. And it's that way with most of the components in the game in general, right? There's nice recessed player boards which help things sit in place. The board itself is kind of weird. It's this weird puzzly board that didn't really need to be, but other than that, everything in the game is really top notch. But I was especially taken with the lanterns. So there you go. That's my
Yeah.
funky component, the little glass lanterns.
And it has those horseshoes and
Yeah,
metal
that's the
coins,
horseshoes.
etc. So, when I looked at
Oh,
this game,
the coins are fantastic in this game. Very
oh,
nice metal
you
coins.
can see them here. Okay. When I look at this game, when I looked at this game on Kickstarter a long time ago, I think it was quite. I mean, like it was maybe 2 years ago. I mean, like it got delayed quite
That's
much.
Kickstarter.
Maybe half a year delayed or something like that. At least because like I was like, oh, it probably already delivered, but maybe I can still get a late pledge in it. And I emailed them. They said, yeah, it's I'm like, oh, shouldn't it be already delivering? No, it's a long wait.
Well, that's just every Kickstarter. Um, I
Yeah,
mean,
but
that's
when I looked at this game, I wanted to buy this game because of the how it looked. Like it just
hmm
looks so great. I was like, I need to have this game, But then I kind of went away from that. It's kind of a toy factor syndrome type of thing.
sure.
I'm like, okay, maybe I shouldn't get this game just because it has cool components. Let me just think about this game, and I felt like maybe it's not the game
Well,
for me.
yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Sure.
I enjoyed the game a lot, but I don't know that I loved the game. But
Hmm.
it does look very nice, and a game that looks nice is usually easy to get people to play. So that's
True.
always a good thing.
All right. So, but we're talking about the components themselves, and this is the game I already talked about. It's Origins First Builders. Uh, I I thought like maybe I'll just put in the components themselves, and these are those discs, the motherships. And they are funky. Like I mean, like yes, they need to be painted, but they are funky in the sense that they are. You put them inside the board. There's the small hole, and you rotate them, and they are basically like rotating dice, the flat rotating dice. It's really cool. I like that component as it is. It's not done to 100% for me. It should have been like you can see, by the way, somebody painted them like that. That looks
Oh, okay.
really cool. Like
I
I
don't know. It
just
looks kind
think
of dirty to me, but
kind of a spaceship.
okay.
The space is dirty.
Fair
No,
enough.
mine is like I just had pips
Yeah, I
painted,
just colored the pips as well
colored. Yeah, yeah, with permanent marker, so I cannot go back.
with a Sharpie.
But anyway, yeah, all the components here look cool except few things. But yeah, I like the motherships. Not this one. These ones are somebody's pimped up components. This one says as usual one. Still
That's the
good
ones that yeah.
as a functional component. They're good. Anyway,
Once you color the pips.
yeah. Let's get to the topic of the day. The topic of the day: top 10 games with terrible theme. And emphasize that, and the Carl asked me if this is about like page up themes. It's not particularly. It might be that I have few games that have a based it on theme on them, but it's not why I put them on the list. It's usually the themes that, for me at least, that are. It's not a great choice for. uh, It's yeah.
Hey,
Bless
I
you.
muted.
It's not a great choice as a theme. Maybe it might hurt the game. I would have loved to see another theme. I feel like it doesn't suit the game well. It doesn't help the game. Well, that's how I kind of chose the games, and there are a lot of those games.
Yeah, so I went through because this was a harder one to do. I went through and looked at all the games that I've played in the last several years and the games that I have around the house. And I picked. I mean, some of these are games that are themes that are really dull, and some of them are themes that are really just very weird. I did not make this
Mhm.
my top 10, unique themes list, right? So, some of the games I typically pull out, like
Yeah,
Consentical or something, aren't going to be on here. That was, I think, a different. I would consider that a different list. But some of them are just themes that either didn't make any sense or were really just bad, or were just so boring that I couldn't, even if I liked the game. Again, this is not a list of games I hate. I like many of these games. In fact, I love some of them. But it's just games where the theme was either super dull or super weird.
yeah. Also, for me, the particular order of the games, I just did that because of the format of top 10, but I wouldn't say that it's extremely like don't don't draw any lines from that. I mean, like I just put them in some kind of an order. They are all like
Yeah.
almost equally the themes I don't really appreciate in those particular games.
Well, my number one and number two, I definitely think are in the right place. The rest, I could go back and forth. In fact, I could go back and forth on the contents of this list as well. But
Yeah,
anyway,
yeah. But anyway, and also one more thing is that for me, I didn't try to look for games that I like. It just the theme. I might not like the game also, but it doesn't matter on this one. Anyway,
all right.
let's get to the number 10.
All right. This is one I almost think I'm going to have to spell for you. But
Still,
the my number 10 is a game, and it is available in English, but the title is German. The title is Ruhrschifffahrt. That's Ruhrs.
Ruhrs.
R
Oh,
C.
Ruchifart something.
Yeah, with some dates.
Okay,
So this game, I
okay.
mean, you just start reading about it, right? Until the second half of the 18th century, most people thought that larger barges could not navigate the Ruhr River. And then it goes on and talks
Mm.
about moving
But they
coal
could.
from
Yeah.
one barge to the next, and how there was some coal dust that got lost, and how by the time you reached the end, there was nothing but coal dust left. I mean, come on. this
They tried.
this is this has to be one of the most boring sounding themes. I mean, even the thought of all the dust in the air makes it feel dry. The game does. I mean, look, I like the game, but but I just
Hmm.
think this is that's not what comes with it. That somebody has improved the copy of Fart. I also just like that word, but it just means a trip by boat on
Right
the
forward. Hmm.
yeah. So
Something, something.
I don't know. It's a game about not even mining coal, but transporting coal up a river, and and, and the coal kind of gradually degrades as you go along. I just, I mean, I think that kind of speaks volumes for how
Yeah.
exciting the theme could be, and
Oh yes.
it kind of proves to me that somebody will make a game about anything. That that this one, and I like the game again, but it is about as dry as you can possibly get. It's thematic, though. I mean, the mechanisms help you experience, old world 1700s, 1800s coal transportation. But that's not something I want to experience.
Yeah, Rushifart with free F.
Yes, because that's
Rushifart.
German. Yeah.
Anyway.
It's, German puts those words together, and Schiff has two F's on the end, and then Fart has one at the beginning. So that's how
Mm-hmm.
they do it. So anyway, transporting coal.
Yeah, yeah, it is kind of boring. I had a few games about the coal, but I was like,
There are so many
they kind
games
of
about
fit.
coal.
They kind of fit, but just they're boring. But it might be anyway. My number 10 is I think it's how the art is also presented in this game, because the art adds to the theme and thus the theme feels even weirder because of the
Hmm.
art. I think it hurts the game, and that's Imaginarium.
Okay.
It's
Yes, it does.
it's I cannot even describe the theme. Like, it's a through the mist. You can just about see the gigantic form of the factory, and like you are some kind of engineers trying to build the different contraptions, which are animals, weird, with the board that has the mouth. And look at that. It's just the whole theme is so weird. It's an engine building game, and it's quite strict engine building game, and I like the game as it is. But with that theme, I felt it felt so weird that it was kind of difficult to get to the table, I would say. It just maybe it's
It
not
is.
here.
The artwork is off-putting. It looks kind of nightmarish in a lot of ways. It's
Yeah,
I don't know. There's that mouth which gets a lot of people.
yeah,
Uh,
like here, that mouth. It's like
it's
a
a discard pile, but
steam. It's a steampunk theme with animals as machines. I don't know. It just hurts the game, in my opinion.
yeah.
Too weird. Too weird.
There you go. I agree.
All right, let's get to number 9.
Okay, my number 9 is, and I told you I wasn't going to put all my weird themed games, like the kind of strange and unique themes, but this one I am going to put on. The game is called Lap Dance, and what you're doing in this game is you're trying to become the manager of a strip club, and you're serving drinks to patrons and doing other
Yeah,
things
let's
to
just.
get tips and money off of them.
Hmm.
I mean, that kind of also speaks for itself in terms of maybe a bad theme for a game, especially
Can
in a
we?
family-based hobby. Um, you might be careful with the pictures. I mean, there's nothing pornographic, but it is a dice rolling and allocation game. It's kind of fun for about 10 minutes, and then the novelty wears. I mean, this game it
So the
survives.
lap
First of
dance
all,
is fun for 10 minutes, and then it's not.
yeah, exactly. Thank you. I'm glad that's on the internet. So it's a game. The components are terrible, and the
Oh
the
god.
theme kind of wears. It's sort of got this novelty, but the novelty has worn off after just a few minutes, and then you're left with a relatively mediocre game.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's more one that's fun just so you can feel naughty about playing it. But ultimately, the theme is kind of off-putting for a lot of people. I know a lot of people that would not play this game with me, for example, um,
Yeah.
and and it's not good enough to overcome that barrier. So it's I don't know. The theme, sure,
Yeah.
it'll make some people want to buy it, but it doesn't really carry the game through.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah. Well, by the way, while I was searching for the lap dance, I started typing it
Oh,
in.
while you were searching for a lap dance.
Yeah, I started typing it in. A board game, lap dance, the board game, and I saw the other game. I completely forgot about this game, Kuna versus Lakia. Remember?
Oh, Yeah, that was on my short list.
Was it? Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I
it's
forgot
not going
about
to
it.
be on my list. That one I would save for my unique themes list. Just,
It's
I again, I didn't want to populate
a
this
bad
list with
theme.
just Kunalakia and Consenticle and Lap Dance. Kunalakia
But
is
you did.
really interesting in that
Mhm.
you're, you know,
Rabbits
they're
marrying?
two rabbits. No, they're getting divorced,
The
actually.
divorce,
It's
sorry. Yeah, yeah,
Kune
yeah.
versus Lakia, and they're trying to divide up their property so that they can convince their friends
That's a
and family
terrible
members that
theme.
they are right. It is a terrible theme. And again, I definitely thought about it, but I went with lap dance instead.
Okay. Yeah. All right. But my number 9 uh is not any kind of other dance. It's a rather it's an industrial theme, and I feel like
Ooh.
yeah, it's yet another industrial film, and I feel like the theme is not really there. It's a simple card game, but I feel like it hurts the game a little bit. It should have been anything else, but that boring industrial theme. I'm talking about furnace. I mean, like, why out of so many themes and possibilities of having for a bidding and engine building game, why the industrial theme? Oh, you have this coal that you make into coins, and metal you make into barrels, and I mean, like, the theme doesn't make sense, but as it is, the theme itself is boring choice. It was like, we need to get a a theme where we can, like, build the engine building, conveyor, resources. What's the most obvious choice? Industrial era. It's too obvious. It's I just the game itself is great. You bid on those different cards with different values of discs. You cannot really have the same number or color of the disc on the card, and then you grab the cards or you get the compensation from the card. If you do not get the card itself, and you get more higher or lower compensations, you're trying to just eventually get a ton of resources and make them into money, and whoever has the most money wins the game. Great game,
Yep.
straightforward game, very easy to learn and teach. I
Hmm.
like, when I teach the game, I was like, just look at those symbols and you'll understand what to do. And
Yeah.
what you do is, like, you do this and this. That's it. Like a minute of explanation. Everything else is self-explanatory.
Sure.
Why industrial theme? Tell me. Why anything else?
Apparently, that's very exciting.
Like, I don't know, the car industry. Do that, but something modern, like mobile markets does, or Automania, etc. You can do all the different, maybe a more specific industry, at least, not just your usual
It's
factories and
industry.
coal and metal. Yeah.
Hmm. Fair enough.
Anyway, great game. Terrible choice for a theme.
Agree.
It might hurt the game. Let's get to number 8.
All right. All right, number 8. So number 8 is a kind of weird theme, and it's kind of a dark theme, I guess. The game it's one that I enjoy but don't play very often, just because there's a lot of rules to teach. It's not as easy to pick up. But the game is called The Other's Seven Sins.
Mm-hmm.
And one player is the forces of sin trying to corrupt the city and corrupt other people, corrupt the other players, and get them to the point where they're, I guess, succumbing to the sin. What it is really is a sort of a one versus many game. I like it best as a two-player game, though, as most of those I normally do, because then one person has all the resources and another person has all the resources. It's interesting. It's got sort of that exploding dice type thing, very kind of grotesque, dark artwork. Um, but pretty straightforward and fast. I'm not sure how balanced it is, but I really like this game. But sort of the concept of you know, I am a sin and I am coming forth to try and corrupt you. That that's definitely probably not a good theme. And it's a game, it's a theme that does hurt the game. Look, it fits in the game, but it makes people reluctant to want to play this kind of game. It's
Mm-hmm.
sort of so dark. Another one I would put in this spot but didn't would be Hate, but I really don't like Hate. That's why this one this is
You
the
don't
one that
like
I
hate?
enjoy.
That's
Oh, that
fine.
game's terrible. So that's my number 8 is The Others, The Seven Sins.
Mm-hmm. No, I haven't played that one. I don't care as well
Ah,
because of the theme as well. I no,
yeah,
not theme.
it's not the thing that most people will warm up to very easily.
My number 8, and let's balance it out. Extremely cute theme that should have been something else because it kind of feels out of place. And I'm talking about Happy Pigs. And again,
I thought
the
about this too.
the art and the like. Look at this cover. What do you think about this one? Happy Pigs, Okay, maybe farming. Oh, there's some money. This is an economic game. Resource management economic. You grow pigs. The small piglets, they grow into big pigs. You sell them. It's cruel. It's animal cruelty here. But I mean, like, don't. It feels weird as a game. Like it's Happy Pigs, but it's an economic game. Maybe do the veggies farming. That's the old version. But like, if you could farm the veggies, that would maybe make a little bit more sense. Because this one kind of feels extremely cute, and then you go into it, and it's not a children's game, but it looks like a children's game. It feels like that. The whole theme about that, you know, vegetables would be much more suitable for that theme. And you get vaccines, and you feed them, and where are they going? We all know, it's maybe more environmental, less cruel would be veggies or anything else, like not the farming, but yeah, farming in the sense of
Sure.
other things. Just that's my caveat. It's a good
Yep,
game as an
it
economic
is.
game. I like that.
Yeah, it's a fun one.
Let's get to number 7.
All right. So my number 7 is so there's a designer who always has interesting games, even if they don't work, and interesting themes. Sometimes though they're not great. And this is the one. The designer, of course, is Friedman Friese, and the game I think is a bad theme is Copycat. So
Hmm.
in Copycat, you're like a politician and you're trying to run for president, but you've got to do a bunch of random stuff. Political themes can be divisive. This one certainly is not, right? This is a very light-hearted political game. But it also doesn't really make sense, right? I mean, I don't know why you're trying to copy people, and it's sort of a joke on the fact that he was borrowing mechanisms from other games. And the artwork is playful, as is most of his artwork. And the game is okay. It's not amazing, but it's okay. But the theme here just doesn't make any sense. It kind of feels like it's a game in search of a theme. Uh, because the
Mm-hmm.
one that it was given, this sort of a political theme, where for some reason you're also trying to complete your doctoral degree while running for president. I mean, none of it really makes any sort of a cohesive sense or storyline. Again, not a terrible game. You might enjoy it. It's really just a deck building game, but it's the theme is such an unusual take on the serious political concept that it ends up not working for the game very well.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I haven't played that one.
Well, I don't know that you should run out and buy it. It's not the strongest entry from this designer.
All right. So my number 7 is yet another one which I think it hurts the game because it's just so plain boring. And I'm talking about Museum. Artwork is great, a ton of potential. It's a set collection game. That's fine. But if they could, just maybe, of course, mechanically as well, like tweak few things and reframe it into treasure hunters going onto archaeological expeditions, like Indiana Jones type of thing, trying to get the right treasures and then sell the treasures to the museums. And then eventually you get to that museum part where you put those pictures into a museum in the right order, whatever. It could still work with that same mechanism, but as itself, it's a boring name, museum, whatever.
Hmm.
The theme, it's all about museum. You get the expansions of different things like black market, archaeologists, etc., but they do not. It would have been so much more. It would be so much cooler for it to be more adventurous. We don't have that many adventure themes like Indiana Jones type things. Like we have Lost Ruins of Arnak, for example, which is like in Indiana Jones. That feels adventurous. If you would like do this game in the Lost Ruins of Arnak universe, that would be great. Now I think that would that would
Okay.
add to the game itself. But as it is, I think it hurts the game. The
Yeah.
and the artwork helps the game, of course, because it's Vincent Dutray. It's just, I don't know what you feel about
Yeah,
that.
well, I mean, I have thoughts about Museum. I'm hopeful. I ordered the new sort of deluxe version that's eventually someday, hopefully coming out, and hopefully will solve my biggest problem with it, which is the whole concept of placing the cards on that board and trying to fill certain corridors. It's difficult to see. It just doesn't
It is.
work physically. The physical way that works, you can't tell what's in what row. I'm
Yeah.
hoping that'll get solved. I don't hate the game, but I'm waiting. I'm going to give it another chance when the new version comes out. As how I think I'm going to be with this one. Mostly, it's just the set collection game.
Yeah. It's just a little
Which,
bit more
to be
adventurous theme
fair,
would add to the experience.
that's what museums do. It's just
Mm.
collect a bunch of stuff.
And it's boring. It's what
It is.
coal diggers do, but like what coal miners
Yeah,
do, but
it is. It is a
it's
boring
also
theme. I
boring.
will definitely admit.
Yeah. Let's get to number 6.
Okay. All right. Number 6 is a game that I owned, never played, got rid of, played, and bought again. Um, so this game is, I mean, it stands in for a lot of games, but this one in particular, just the name and the theme. The game is called Endeavor: Age of Sail,
I thought about that one.
and I mean, the title does not make you want to jump up and play it. If you look at the cover, it's basically just the title with a bunch of nautical implements.
I like the
And
cover.
then I think it's a very boring cover. And then you get into the game itself, and what you're doing is going out all over the board and colonizing. It does have, for people who are, it has some nice topics in it, like you can engage in slave trade, which helps you to get things more cheaply. But eventually, if enough people decide they don't want to do it, then you can look bad and lose points. So there's that. But mostly what you're doing is just kind of building up your tracks and moving and placing your tokens out on the board. It sounds really, it's a very boring theme. And it's sort of this, these sort of old
Mhm.
world exploration is a theme that has definitely been done to death and perhaps done a little bit better and more thematically in some other games. But this one, just everything about it says this is going to be awful. Now, the game is not awful. It's not boring at all. It's very simple and easy to learn. It feels good. You kind of feel like you're doing something. I like the game a lot. But the theme is something that will not excite really anybody at all.
Yeah. I like some of the components. The boards are warping. I had the Kickstarter copy of that, and I thought it would be great. Yeah, I kind of feel there's no theme. Like when you start playing
No.
that, it's like eventually when you think about that, you have tracks and you move on those tracks, and this is all about the tracks. No, it's tracks the tracks game, and the board itself is also
That's Newton.
tracks because you just put the tokens down there. It's also like different tracks that you go through and put your tokens down, colonizing, whatever. It's just tracks everywhere. Yeah, it's a stupid theme. They would have just maybe named it chess and make it abstract. I don't know. Whatever. Uh,
Okay.
not chess, but what's the other one? Um,
Checkers?
checkers. Yeah, checkers.
It's not checkers, but okay.
Yeah, that could be checkers. Checkers, the sailing game. I don't know.
Uh,
Whatever.
yeah.
It's a
Anyway,
stupid
I
theme.
found it to be a bad theme.
My number six, and let me just close here. Yeah, my number six is another like it's how sometimes the thematic choices or the component choices or the visual choices, let's say, can really hurt the game. And I feel like it does hurt the game because if that would have been something else, maybe it wouldn't have gotten that much criticism. And talk about Tapestry.
Ah,
And Tapestry has this civilization theme, but
it does?
uh, yeah, but it's a puzzle game. It's also a tracks game. You know, it's inconsistent in its theme. So you make a civilization theme where you can build whatever you want. Those are like weird civilizations, and that's fine. It's like something unique, you know, for the civilization game. But
Sure.
the problem is that it's inconsistent in its theme. Like, for example, yeah, the technology doesn't make sense at all. And technology is something extremely important. If you make a civilization game, technology tree is one of those main things you must focus on. That's just why what people love about civilization games a ton. Not just, you know, exploiting. They love to build their cities and they love to explore more technologies.
Hmm.
Discover more technologies. This one just, yeah, it's move on tracks and try to maximize your resource income or like expending resources, etc. Then do this kind of a Tetris puzzle with your. It's themeless in a sense. Like
It's
I just felt like
seamless in
building your own.
general.
Yeah, building your own capital. It just doesn't make sense. I like there was a lot of criticism towards the theme. And I can also see a lot of criticism because it's Jamie Stegmaier. Hype creates anti-hype, and there's two groups of people who like say it's James Stegmaier. All of his games are great, you know, and there's the one. All of his games are garbage, you know. Like there are those two. If we cut those two groups out and just look at this game in a sense of is it a good choice as a theme? It's not. He failed at the choice, in my opinion. Totally
Yeah.
failed.
I mean, I like Tapestry a lot, but Tapestry, yeah, is a game about getting points. It's not. I mean, it's almost Russian railroads level in my book, in in terms of a game where there's a theme there, but and I agree that sort of the technology is a particularly egregious just because it's not a tree, right? You can build, you can develop space flight before you develop the light bulb, and and things like that are just conceptually, I don't know, it's cognitive
It,
issues, I guess. I don't know. I like the game a lot, but I agree the
if
theme is not
if
helpful.
that would be some kind of a, let's say he would put down that this is the game about like tribes or whatever, you know, and they are different tribes and they try to expand. It would be like a civilization game with kind of based on theme, but he says it a civilization game.
Yeah.
It just, you know, it's when you start with that, people expect something, you
It is
know.
a
It's
civilization game in the same extent that Russian Railroads is a train game.
yeah, you should have just done something else, like maybe tribes or something like that, and then and this capital would be something else, like you are managing your own small uh item pool or whatever. The capital is weird. You should build it on the board, not on your mat of this polyamorous grids. You know, it's
Yeah.
weird choices.
Well, in other news, the new expansion is quite good. So it
Nah, I
does
don't
not help
care.
with the
I
theme
sold my
though at
copy.
all.
Yeah. Anyway, let's get to number five.
Okay. Alrighty, my number 5, it also kind of stands in for a bunch of other games. Look, I don't hate the game. I don't love the game, but I don't hate it. It's really just an auctiony game and sort of a stock type game, but it tries to have a theme. It really tries. And the theme you'd think is sort of a cute, happy thing. The game is called Raccoon Tycoon, or its other incarnation, Lizard Wizard.
Mm.
Both of these, the theme has nothing at all to do with the game, right? I mean, what you're doing here, what you would sort of think you're doing is you've got animals that are doing something, and then you've got some kind of a cute civilization or world. And even if you read the game's description, it talks about how Astoria is a land bustling with productivity and growth, and there's these tycoons producing resources and commodities. That's not what's happening. What you're doing is playing a card, getting 2 resources or a few resources, increasing the price, occasionally selling them and getting money, and buying buildings, technologies, and then starting an auction to buy the cards that actually get you points. I mean, you don't even really, other than on the pictures, right? There's a picture of some animals. There's not even an animal world type theme going on here. This is just a game about buying and selling stuff. And if you called it, some sort of a boring stock name, well, maybe it wouldn't sell as well. But I don't know. The theme is just so not here. And it kind of stands in for lots of games that just basically say, well, let's throw in animals. And and that'll somehow make it interesting. Another game, I mean, there's some other games I really like that do that too. But this one I kind of felt was the most, the most egregious of them all.
Yeah, look. I'm interested in the game as a game, but yeah, the theme, it's weird. Why raccoons?
It definitely
Why not
promises
elephants?
one thing. Yeah. It promises one thing and kind of delivers another.
Okay. It
Just
promises
like
raccoons.
some businessmen. Yes, and it delivers buying and selling bottles of wine.
I haven't seen raccoons here. There are bears. There are all the cats.
Oh yeah, they're only
the-
on one. I think one of the cards has
Oh,
raccoons on it.
look.
But yeah, and also all of the cards are the same artwork, which I didn't love. Like for one particular set, that was kind of boring. That was kind of a disappointment.
Okay. My number 5 is the game that you love, and that I recently ordered a copy of the Legacy variant of. Yes. I don't know why. I just felt like I need more games into my collection. Sure. I don't know. No. I just wanted to get some kind of a extra Legacy game going. It's Aeon's End. And this is another one where I feel like maybe it's my extreme subjective thing going on here, but the theme couldn't be more generic in a sense. And I kind of, it feels off-putting, when I play the game. At first, I was like, okay, so we are fighting someone. We are somebody. We are wizards fighting some kind of monsters, and we have portals and spells and all of that stuff. It felt so generic. It felt extremely generic. Like I just feel it's a terrible choice for a theme because it doesn't. I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. It's just yet another fantasy theme. And you can say that, oh, but these are different wizards and these are different monsters. You can see it how many different, like this is the Rageborn, whatever. Who cares? It's your Diablo, the video game kind type of thing. Like you can say Diablo is a different theme, but no, it's also a generic fantasy. Just name the monsters a little bit differently. I felt like it could have been something else. It would be more interesting for me.
I love this game, but this was also on my short list. I do feel the theme is quite generic here. As much as I like the game, and as much as I enjoy the stories that develop while you're playing it, It does require a lot of work to get to those stories.
Yeah. But yeah, itself just I didn't describe. It's a cooperative deck building game. We're trying to fight the monster and kill them, and yay, we
Sure.
win or we lose.
Yeah,
Mostly lose. Uh, let's get to number
you're
four.
playing it wrong.
Sure.
Okay, so my number 4 is one that I think the fact that there's a theme gets in the way. This is
Hmm.
why this is a terrible theme. There's two versions of the game. Both are largely the same, but with different themes. The game is, of course, The Crew, the
Mm,
mission, the quest for Planet Nine, or Mission Deep Sea. That's not in there at all, right? It's a trick-taking game. That's all it is. You're trying to do goals.
hmm.
I have turned around on this game a little bit, because I found a lot of people that really like it, and I've started really to enjoy it. There's a book of stories you can read, about the different things you're doing, but they're not exciting and they're poorly written. Um, but
Hmm.
really, all you're doing is playing a trick taking game, right? Someone picks a card,
Hmm.
plays it on the table. You have to play a card of a matching color if you have it. That's it, right? Simple rules. And then you're trying to accomplish some sort of a goal. And that goal, especially in the first one's a little bit worse, because there they try and make the goal seem like it has something to do with the story, but it doesn't.
Does
I
it?
mean, you're trying. Oh yeah, if you read that book, the little storybook, uh,
Yeah.
which is where you have to go to. I mean, the new one is better because you don't even have to get the storybook out. You just have to see what your difficulty level is and then deal the cards. You can skip that whole sort of self-aggrandizing story. Um,
Yeah.
but I mean, this game, if it were, I don't know, the theme actively works against it, I think, because nobody cares about the theme. People just want to jump in and play and try and win the green three. I mean, that's that's really what you're
Yeah.
doing here. And I don't know. I think the themes, while not terrible by themselves, are terrible for this game.
I've thought about this game about putting this on my list, and it felt so pasted on that I just like I cannot even say if this is boring or not. It's so pasted on that I just don't care about the theme at all. I just see it as an okay trick taking game. I wasn't enamored with the game itself, so yeah, I couldn't even say, was it boring theme, was it a terrible theme, was it a weird theme? There's no theme. It just you needed to put something on the box as a box cover art, but that's it.
Yeah, but for me, the fact that that theme is there, it really, I just know, for me, it got in the way of being able to enjoy the game, because there was something I was supposed to be enjoying, and I wasn't enjoying that thing. I was just playing the game.
I can see how it can hurt the game in a sense that people go to the friendly local gaming store, they look at the cover, and they're like, "Ooh, the mission, the quest for Planet Nine." You're like some people, they don't read a ton of reviews or watch a ton of videos, whatever, for a board game. They go to the friendly local gaming store and they'll look at the game. They're like, "Oh, that's an exciting cover box." It's like, "Oh, it's about the quests and the planets and the space," and then they get the game, and then it can really hurt. Yeah, yeah. Such theme. It could have been something abstract, like
It could have, and it really
uh,
should have.
what's it called? The like Project L is an abstract one. Then the
Yeah, I
like
mean, there's
Red
no theme there,
7, then
right?
the 9, whatever it is, the
Oh, number 9, I don't like that game,
number
but
9. Like I mean, like they
yeah.
they don't they don't try to give you the theme that's not there. Like number 9 is a puzzle game with numbers. That's it. This one is a puzzle
Hmm.
game with numbers. My God.
Right.
Yeah, you're right. But yeah,
Okay.
my number 4 is like this theme is terrible because of the real events and the past and the horrible person who did a lot of horrible things. in the history, and this theme might be very off-putting for some, because it was very off-putting for me as well, and that's Secret Hitler. I mean, it might hurt some people's feelings. I mean, like, it can, if one of your relatives was involved in all of that, in the war and etc. Um, I'm not particularly hurt by the past, because it's the past. It's been done. We need to move forward and be better. But in this one, the theme is about liberals and fascist trying to. So basically, the fascists are trying to get the Hitler win the political race,
Mhm.
and the liberal are trying to get Hitler assassinated or whatever else, or not win. And it's a social deduction game. As a social deduction game, it's interesting, but thematically, maybe they could have just, maybe they chose that theme to be provocative, to be different, to be, to be on the front pages of whatever, I
I'm
think
sure
they
that's correct.
I think that was on purpose, but they didn't think it through enough. It's on purpose, but it might be hurt. It might hurt some people emotionally.
Fair enough.
I
I,
feel
I
like
thought
that.
about this one just because it's definitely not a great theme. I don't know. I enjoy the game, but it
Like,
definitely it's kind of
you
crew dependent.
playing as a Hitler, if you get the Hitler role, you are a Hitler. You're trying to get to the top and then do all the horrible things. It's
The
wow.
one thing
I
that
want
they
to be the
did
Hitler.
is at least they used pictures of random animals rather rather than pictures of Hitler and Goering or anything like that. That's sort
That
of I
could
don't
have
know.
killed the game. By the way, the game would be banned, I think,
Well,
from
I mean,
if they use the symbolics and etc. Because in some countries, it's in Europe, for example, in some countries it's totally unacceptable. You
sure.
could get the police at your door if they see something like that.
Well, yeah. Well, I definitely will agree that the theme itself is somewhat of a hindrance to the game.
And it says it's a dramatic game of political intrigue and betrayal. Like,
Sure.
what?
Somebody burn down
Dramatic
the
game.
Reichstag.
Oh my god. Dramatic game. It
This
could be about
dramatic
it.
game.
Yeah. The Kuna versus Lucky is a dramatic game. That's
It
for
is.
sure. Let's get to number 3.
Okay. All right. My number 3 is a game that I love. I love this game. The theme does not help this game at all. The theme is, this is a game where the theme is as pasted on as it can be. And because of that, and because of the sort of weird way this theme is presented, it kind of gets in the way of the game. I love the game, but the game is called Pulsar 2849. And I don't know if
I've
you've
heard of
ever
this.
read about the theme on this one, but it's like, this is the 1000th anniversary of the gold rush, and we're now in space, and instead of finding gold, we're finding energy. And so that's about where the theme stops, right? I mean, this is a game, it kind of stands in for a lot of games where they just sort of say, okay, we'll do this in space. Uh, and
In
there's none,
space.
there's none of that here, right? This is very much a
No.
dry Euro game. I love this dry Euro game. I love playing it. I think it's fantastic. But the theme here is pretty bad. It's not even specific space, it's generic space. And then it pretends to be thematic because we're capturing pulsars instead of mining for gold. And
Does it?
yes.
Hmm. Okay.
You
I
just
I didn't catch
didn't
that.
didn't well, what? You didn't capture that um, from your play of this game? Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, it's really, even if you see if you read sort of the short description, draft dice to harness the power of pulsars in the gold rush of a new millennium.
Um. Yeah. I thought about this one. putting this on the list, but I felt the same way as with a few others. Like it was so like with the crew, it's so pasted on that I cannot even say it's a terrible theme. There's no theme. It just it's just some kind of a cover
Very well.
for a boring game. Uh,
Well, it's actually it's a I guess an excuse to play an exciting Euro game about point generation. But
like draft dice to explore the universe. Oh sure,
yeah,
it's
you are not exploring the universe. You're moving your ship around and your token around and flipping things up to get bonuses.
at least at least they say in this Euro style game,
It is
and
a
then
Euro style game.
if you start reading that, you can just players explore space. You just need to insert something else. Players put the tokens down,
Mhm.
move their tokens somewhere else. It's all of that. It's just they could have just
Players
put
try to get special abilities to give them discounts on other special abilities. It's,
and use the dice in various Euro ways. Okay,
yeah, pretty
anyway,
much. That
yeah,
that is a fair description of this game.
it's I cannot
I
say
don't
it's
know.
a boring theme because there's
But
just
it feels
no theme.
pretentious, right? Because of the
Maybe
way that
play it more.
somebody is trying to make this to come up with some reason for this for having this game, and it didn't need it, right? The game will stand or fall on its own. It didn't need
Yeah.
this kind of a strange and again weird space like harnessing pulsars instead of mining for gold. I don't know. Anyway, I thought the theme on this kind of got in the way, and there's a lot of games like it where this sort of same thing happens.
Yeah. So for my number three, also this is completely pasted on theme, but like if you do the pasted on theme, just choose something a little bit more unique at least, because it's pasted on and it's boring. It's the most obvious choice. I'm talking about Barony. Uh, as a game, I like the game. It's rather abstract,
Hmm.
uh, but it's cool how you build those different cities and put the knights out and then trying to claim the lands. It's yeah, there's no theme. But I mean, out of all the different possibilities of the theme, how you can claim the lands, you choose castles and knights and medieval ages and kings and crops. What, like, why? Out of like, because I skipped the game when it came out. I was like, we were in Essen and we looked at the game. We eventually we got the game because I think we talked to designer, and it felt like it's an interesting game. He explained the game as a game. It felt
Hmm.
interesting after the designer explained it. But when we looked at the game, we skipped it right away because
Hmm.
it's not. And look at that! Look at that! It's so exciting. Barony, the castle, lady on a horse. Wow! It's
That's
and
pretty bad.
the name Barony. It could be medievally the name.
Could be
It could be
principality,
anything. What?
or
Look
well,
how
but you have
exciting
that
it is.
expansion that adds magic.
And it adds magic to the medieval ages, the King Arthur legends. It could have been Camelot. Maybe it would have been more appropriate for that kind of a game. At least it would be an interesting take on the on that abstract game. Maybe, but as a
Maybe.
it just look at that. It's the most generic possible
It very much
medieval
is.
theme. Why
Agreed.
this one instead of the other 100 different possibilities of themes you could implement into that? Even chess is more interesting theme.
Okay. All right. There we go.
Maybe. Yeah. Let's get to number two. I'm sorry. It's just as we get to number one, I'm getting
Oh yeah.
more angry in a sense,
Okay.
or hungry. I don't know. Hangry.
All right.
Let's get to number two.
Okay. So my number one and number two, I think, have terrible themes, right? For different reasons. The first one is the theme is just so unpleasant. Some people have referred to this game as Misery Farm, but
Agricola?
this is a game about starving to death in the Middle Ages. And the game is, of course, Agricola. What you're doing in this game, look, the theme works for the game. You're struggling to survive as you slowly
Oh,
build your farm, and eventually you're able to afford a stone house. But that's not Agricola.
no, but I'm trying to click on Agricola and it sends me to strategy and tactics. What is that?
Well, that's not the version I was referring to. There we go. This is the one. So in the game, you're farming, right? You've got a small
Uh,
farm, and then at the end of the round, you've got to eat. And eventually you're going to have children. Why are you having them? Because you love children? No. Because you want to expand your family? No. You're having them so that
that's a
you
nice
can put
picture.
them to work to try and help you get enough food to survive. This is a game about slowly digging yourself out of abject poverty and trying to develop some kind of a farm. I mean, I like the game a lot. It's maybe I've outgrown it. I don't know, but back when it came out, it was everything. I mean, it was the game to play, and I still enjoy it. But the concept. I mean, this is. I think if you read the rule book, the first lines are something like, "It's tough to be a farmer in the 13th century,"
Mm,
or something like that. It's just really a very. I mean, this is a game where if you get into the theme itself, you're really just starving to death and are having a miserable life until you die at about age 40, and and
yeah.
that's kind of the game. I don't know. I just the theme on this one is it fits with the game. It's definitely not pasted on, but it is as unpleasant and unappetizing as you can probably
Hmm.
imagine.
Yeah. I haven't played Agricola and I've skipped Agricola for years, many years, because I just don't care about the farming theme. Also, it looks terrible. It's just terrible looking game.
Well, it's not a terrible game. It's one that when it was out, I was always playing it. I took it to Hungary with me, and we would just sit at various coffee shops and play it on the tables. It was like everything for a really long time. But again, I think the theme of slowly starving to death is probably not a
Yeah.
very good one.
When I started board gaming uh hobby, people suggested this game to me, but I look at it like, okay, what's this game about? Farming? Nope. Like it's when people look into board games, I don't feel like, of course I cannot say for all the people, but adventures, games are are adventures, and it would have been maybe a little bit more better theme as an adventure theme that you build up something, but you do some kind of adventure as well. But yeah, people like farming.
look
I mean,
look
like
at the
nowadays,
description, right?
like nowadays people, I just want to say that nowadays people really love their video games as farming simulators and goat simulators and flight simulators. People just love to simulate work at home during
Yeah,
work off hours, Okay, yeah.
yeah. But you read the description here. It says, in Agricola, you're a farmer in a wooden shack and with your spouse and little else. I mean, that's kind of sums up the game.
And here it says build your farmstead by sowing fields and raising livestock. It's so exciting, but don't forget to
Well,
eat.
yeah, exactly.
Like,
Everything
what?
about this game is going to hint to you or tell you very specifically that you are going
Eat.
to be having difficulty surviving.
You're going to have a stroke if you don't eat. I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, let's get to my number two. And my number two and one are also here for this, like the same reason. And both of these games, and number two is Anno 1800. And why it's a terrible choice? It's because do not choose a popular video game as a theme. And I'm sure, like, people say it might be just that he wanted to do Anno 1800. It's like, no, it's based on the video game. But it has, I think, like, I haven't played Anno 1800, but I was like interested. I was like, I'm gonna watch few of the playthroughs of Anno 1800 video game and see if this board game really catches the theme. No, not at all. I mean, it's it's
Okay.
it's a cool game. I like it,
Sure.
but don't take video games, make them into board games, and don't even like try. Like Martin Wallace is not. He's a great designer, but he's not a great fit to make video games into board games. You know, I don't feel like he's a little bit too dry
Erase the board.
designer.
Oh, okay.
Dry, not dry designer, but I mean like designer who makes a drier Euro games, you know, or more like
Mhm.
you know, like let's say with agricola farming, etc. He makes the coal mining and all of that, the brass and things like selling and factories, industrial era. That's his theme. That's the
Okay.
thing, and rails and etc. Railroads. That's his theme. It's all everything industrial. This one also has this industrial feel, maybe, but no, it's extremely mechanical. It just I look at the cover and I get into the game, and then I think like maybe it could have been anything else because it gives me the wrong vibes. And some people who get into board gaming and they play a few games now and they like, so I like strategy games on my computer or whatever, the PlayStation, Xbox. Huh. What should I try from the board games? And he looks at Anno and he looks at some other games and maybe Bloodborne, whatever, you know, and he looks like, oh, I like Anno video game. This one should be fun.
Mhm.
He could be disappointed in a sense.
I see.
I don't know how to
I know
describe
nothing
it.
about the game, but I like the board game version. I found it really enjoyable, but I don't know anything about the source material.
It's also the Anno series are about like they are very much like civilization building games. You
Okay.
know, you're building your towns, try to make the profit, you put out the trade, etc. You know, it's building your kind of a small, not a civilization, but at least kind of your own town or whatever else. Uh, yeah, no, it's just you are getting resources to get to better buildings, and then those better buildings give you new resources, and you mix and match. You get to those chain reactions of different resources, so you can eventually build even better buildings to get to even more rare resources, etc., and do some
Sure.
other stuff. And card play, a ton of card play, very abstract as it is, not a
Okay.
great choice. Do not choose video games as board game themes. Do not.
Well,
They
I mean,
don't fit.
sometimes they do. The Bloodborne
Very
video game and
rarely.
board game fit really well.
Okay, very thrashy, but usually
But
don't do that.
again, it very well. Hmm.
Try not to do that, please.
I'll
I
do my
beg you.
best.
Let's get to number one.
All right. Okay, number one was very easy. As soon as I saw it, I was like, okay, I know which my number one is going to be. Number two was also pretty easy, but number one, this is just a terrible theme. The game is called. I mean, look, the game is not anything super pretentious. It's very small. The game is Batman Love Letter. I mean, everything about that, right? So the original Love Letter, you're trying to pass a letter and giving it to various, and it gets intercepted by an old lady or something, and
Okay.
you're trying to get it to the princess. All right. And then for
Who's the
some
prince
reason,
here?
yeah, well, it's the Joker. Actually,
Oh,
it's the same number card, and the problem, of course, is that okay, it was sort of right. You're trying to catch. I don't know why. Look, the theme doesn't work, right? It's going to be a problematic theme. Why is Batman sending a love letter to the Joker? Um, and I know, technically he's trying to
nothing.
capture or whatever, but if you look at the box, it has big, big letters that say "love letter." And
5
then
minute fun.
and then
Capture the inmates.
Love letter and a picture of Batman. And and it's just, I mean, this is a terrible, it's a terrible theme. Everything about it, you even pick up the box, you're like, what in the world is this? Look, it's just Love Letter. Okay, if you know Love Letter, it's the same game. I like Lovecraft Letter the best of the series, but they're all more or less the same. But just the way that this one is presented and the concept, I mean, if you buy, I think it was the new Marvel Love Letter, the Thanos one. I think it's like called, Marvel Infinity Gauntlet or whatever it's called, and then in tiny letters, a Love Letter game. This one,
Yeah,
it's
that could
very
have been the
first
same.
and foremost. But this one, I mean, it could have been, I don't know, some
Batman,
Batman and then some
the
word,
love letter
and
game.
then
Yeah,
a Love Letter game. But
yeah.
this one, no. It's Batman
Mm-hmm.
Love Letter,
Mm-hmm.
and that's just it's the first of all, a comical idea, the juxtaposition of those terms. But secondly, this is not. I mean, it's not going to work.
Yeah, it says the deck consists mostly of it doesn't really even add any, like, it doesn't try to do any theme. It just says the deck consists of criminals, Joker, number 8, Harley Quinn number 7, and so on and so on. It says here.
And why is Batman writing him a love letter? That's really the question.
Did you use your way to survival, either as the Dark Knight or as a Gotham villain? It says here. Did you use your
Dear
way?
Joker, the way you smile has always filled my soul with joy.
Because I'm Batman. Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
So there
Yeah,
you go.
I can see
My
that,
number
yeah.
one terrible theme is Batman love letter.
That's funny. So my number one is in the style of number 2. Don't
Ooh.
like if you take a video game and make it into a board game, try to make it right. If you
Okay.
make it,
I promise.
look, you know about me talking. Like, I've been talking about this game a ton. It's also top 10 disappointments. But it's Civilization New Dawn.
No, you think that game's disappointing?
While Sid Meier's Civilization, the board game, is 2010 version, is difficult to learn. It has many issues. It's very long, but it feels like Civilization, the board game. It feels thematic. It feels like it tries at least to emulate the video game in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I felt, and I was like, if somebody could make the same game but like a new edition of that, like how they made Arkham Horror and then Arkham Horror the card game, it could have been like the same with Civilization the board game, and then like a more streamlined version of that, but still giving the sense of that Civilization the video game. And then comes Civilization New Dawn, and I'm like, okay, here we are. And it's also long, and it's also rather complex, and it's abstract as hell. It doesn't make any sense. The barbarians can destroy your city in one step. How? Why? The card play is cool, the only thing, but technology and spreading your influence, it's all feels like the same as with Endeavor. It's like you get all this Endeavor, you sail to high seas trying to find new lands. No, you put things on tracks. That's it. It feels the same here. Do not use the video game if you will not appreciate the theme of the video game. It felt so disappointing because nothing felt like a video game. Nothing. But look, it's because you have those settlers and how they move and etc. How your armies do, and whatever else, how your civilization responds to some politics, etc. Anything, technologies, nothing really resembles civilization. But look at that, and then look at the video game.
Ooh.
You look at that cover. You look at Fantasy Flight and 2K Games, and Sid Meier's Civilization. You are ready to build a civilization. No,
Yes?
you will be ready to build your abstract barony medieval town, whatever. That's it.
Sounds disappointing.
It's terrible, disappointing, stupid choice for a theme. Extremely stupid. I'm angry. I'm angry. but I'm hungry as well. Anyway,
I'm not angry about Batman Love Letter. I just thought it was stupid.
but it's all in one. Look, build wonders, expand across the map, develop your empire. Nothing. I felt nothing of that. Building wonders felt like just doing something small, but wonders should be something great. Expanding with those influence tokens, which felt like I'm just putting a track of crumbles, and develop your empire. How? If barbarian can walk into my city and destroy it in one go, how can I build my empire? Barbarians should like I'm a strong empire, and then just one barbarian just does this with the knife, and I'm done. It's why? How?
It's a
My
big
God.
knife.
And they call it the 4x game. It's like if they would take Twilight Imperium and made it into such an abstract thing, people would rage. People would go out on the streets and put things on fire,
Mm.
especially TIs. Okay. Anyway,
Okay.
it's not a good game. I would definitely not recommend it to anyone. Do not support
But you
half-baked.
gave it 6 stars.
Uh, I tried to appreciate the game. It was a long time ago.
Okay.
Like, look, the thing is that
Horrible
I
game. 6 out of
I
10.
try I tried to strip all the thoughts about the theme itself and
Mm-hmm.
thought about the mechanics. And I liked some of the mechanics. That's why I get the card play genius. I love the card play there. It's amazing. It's just
Okay.
so great. It's also like as you say with the Arc Nova, like you put the cards down and then they become more like they progress somehow, or they
Mm-hmm.
become more I don't remember, less valuable, more valuable, etc. So here, when you put down those cards, if you use a particular card, it goes back in the order and it
Mm-hmm.
becomes less valuable. And eventually, as you use more different cards, this card will just shift down and then it will become more powerful eventually again. It's like it makes you use different types of cards, not just spam one particular one. It's great. I like that. And you can
Okay.
upgrade those and etc. So yeah, we get new technologies out there.
All right. There you go.
Okay, it's a
So that's
four.
our.
It's a four
There
now.
you go. There you go. Horrible game. It made me angry. It infuriated me. 6 out of 10.
I try to be objective as objective as possible
Okay.
because people who don't know anything about Civilization, the video game, let's say they just take this game, and they play it, they might like it. But if they know Civilization, the video game, they might hate it.
Okay.
All right.
All
Uh,
right. There you go.
that's it for today's show. Thank you for watching. And we're gonna end on a high note. Say something
Hi,
good.
hi, hi.
Yeah, say something good.
Oh. Oh,
Okay, no,
that,
don't
that
sing.
was that was as close to a high note as I can do.
Okay, I'm gonna say that I've finally played some of the missions of Rogue Angel, the Burning Suns legacy game kind of thing. It's I have a prototype. It's this game is coming on. It's coming to Kickstarter on February 1st. I have the prototype with just few missions, and I'll make a preview of that game. So
Great.
it's going to be a campaign style legacy game, though I didn't try any legacy elements because
All right.
I only tried the
Because they probably
mechanics
went that way.
themselves. Yeah. But
Okay.
eventually it will be like kind of a legacy game with lots of missions, uh, like a Gloomhaven style, maybe a little bit of that in space. Gloomhaven in space. Uh,
Ooh, I'd play that.
anyway, yeah.
All right.
So should look forward to that. It will be done before 1st of February, of course. So yeah,
That's in a week.
in a week.
All right. Sounds good.
And then for the like update on how we will be doing our podcast, it's I think we'll be there in 2 weeks. Yeah, and then I will start my travel to US.
Mhm.
I'll be there for a longer period of time. We might not, record a Würfel cast as it is. Maybe we might record something else as
We'll
I
see.
visit Kyle. But yeah, it might be a little bit, all over the place at when or what videos will come up, if any.
Yeah. Well,
It's my
let's try to do
vacation.
1 in 2 weeks, and then we can see where we are.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Anyway, thank you,
All right.
and
Bye bye.
bye bye.